the original reports or the original descriptions focused very strongly upon the dry cough and the shortness of breath. And yet, more and more people that I've spoken to, including one or two who have been tested for it and have been found to have had it, the experience is not by any stretch of the imagination confined to a shortness of breath and a dry cough. And I think the most obvious entry point is perhaps the loss of your sense of smell and your sense of taste. So, I mean, I've been picking over the last few days a lot this week, trying to work out when and whether I started displaying possible symptoms. And there were, I think on Thursday of last week, I woke up and I felt that I had a hangover. And I hadn't had a drink the night before, so even Sherlock Holmes would perhaps have concluded that the reason I felt like I did on that Thursday would not have had anything to do with alcohol. And then on Friday night, and I was just, because I don't know about you, but I've been analysing every tickle and twinge since this started, just wondering, is that a dry cough? What's a dry cough? Do you know fruity is a term? Have you looked this up? You probably have as well, but a fruity cough is apparently the absence of a dry cough in the sense that you produce some, well, it's not fruit, obviously, but you take my point. And then on Friday night, I couldn't really taste my dinner, but I didn't really notice at the time. I'd ordered a delivery, actually, and I just thought that my miso soup was very bland, and I just thought that they'd, run out of ingredients, so they'd just done it to a slightly different recipe from usual. And the wasabi didn't burn like it normally does, but I still had a sort of eye-watering tingle from it. I just didn't have the taste in my. But anyway, I went to bed, woke up Saturday morning, went downstairs to cook up a storm. Which I generally do at weekends, and I'm yet to master the art of cooking bacon without turning the house into a smoke storm. And I as I opened the back door to let the smoke out of the kitchen from my bacon cooking escapades, and Mrs. O'Brien shouted down from upstairs that the whole house had once again become imbued with the aroma of cured pork, I suddenly realised I couldn't smell it. And when I say I couldn't smell all the bacon, I mean I literally couldn't even begin to get a hint of the smell of bacon, despite the fact that, upstairs it was irritatingly strong. So then I got some coffee out of the cupboard, and I thought, well, it's just, and it's really quite unnerving, actually. It's the weirdest thing. It's never happened to me before. So the first thing I did was look it up. The first thing I did was Google it, and it turns out that loss of sense of smell can often accompany non-COVID-19 or non-coronavirus colds and influenza and, sundry other conditions. But it was really, really weird. No taste either. So you still get a tingle. So like toothpaste, it's in your mouth, but it's not minty. And that was Saturday morning. Sunday was the same. And then I started feeling a little later on Saturday really shattered. I mean, absolutely exhausted. I thought, well, I want to work on Monday. I'm working from home now, if you don't know that. And I'm just going to stay in bed for the weekend. I'm going to start self-isolating from the rest of the family. We're lucky enough to have a house in which that's quite easy to do. The Sunday came, I began to feel worse. Now, obviously, not having had a drink since the middle of the week before, waking up with what felt like a 5 or 6 out of 10 hangover was clearly nothing to do with traditional reasons for a hangover. I was just feeling really rubbish, just like tired, a little bit shaky, very there was a problem with my breathing, not like wheezing or anything like that, but just a sort of sharp, at the top of an in-breath. And oddly, it was different if I breathed through my nose. I could pretty much fill up my lungs, but if I breathed through my mouth, I got that cold sharpness much earlier than one usually would. So I stayed in bed Saturday and Sunday. I felt okay. In terms of will I be able to work tomorrow on Sunday night, and I had a chat with my wife about it and thought, well, let's give it a whirl. Let work know that I might be pulling the plug. But I felt, I could probably do that. So I rolled out of bed on Monday morning and came to talk with you. And I felt okay. I don't know, regular listeners to the program might have noted a certain dip in my usual energy levels, but I felt okay. The tummy's been weird. I've barely eaten. I've been living on chicken stock and garlic and ginger. My taste came back midway through Tuesday. I won't tell you how I noticed. It's a little indelicate, but my taste came back shortly after Tuesday's show, but my appetite didn't and hasn't. I really couldn't stress enough how hard I find it still to eat. No real cough, no more than usual anyway, and certainly no dry cough, and then real up and down on the breathing thing. So, when you wake in the night and you do a quick MOT, you do a quick test of what's going on, I found myself thinking, oh, that's it, it's gone, I'm fine now. And then I'd wake up the next morning and that sharpness would be back in my chest again. But until I think this morning, yes, I did still eat my bacon butty, Gary. And oddly, I still got a tingle from the HP sauce, but there was very, very, very little. Well, there was no bacon flavour at all. This morning, I think that I've turned a corner. I'm still going to go straight back to bed after this, but I kind of sense a little less shaky, a little less weak. The problem is, of course, as I've just told you, it's very, very up and down. So there have been a couple of false alarms in the last couple of days where I thought I've made more progress than I actually turned out to have done. But that's the thing that intrigues me the most. The probability even, that huge numbers of us have had it or have got it, but also that it doesn't bear that much resemblance to the official diagnostic tests, to the official symptoms list. And then you begin to read about all the people who may well have it and not even know. You're going to notice if you've lost your sense of smell, but if you've got no other symptoms at all, and I know a couple of people in this category, they've lost their sense of smell, but they've got no other symptoms at all, then, I guess until last week, that wasn't part of the conversation about COVID-19. So that's where I am now. I think I'm on the mend. I have not been that ill, as you could tell by the fact that I was able to come to work every morning. But and of course, part of this conversation is going to have the absence of testing in the background as well, because if I was an NHS worker, then I would have self-isolated the moment I lost my sense of smell. But how much spreading of it might I have done prior to that symptom manifesting itself? As I say, there were a couple of days last week where I couldn't quite work out why I felt ropey, but ropey I did most definitely feel.